Hello, today's destination is a place that, according to legend, was the site of a battle between God and the devil. Now, the story goes that when Satan raised a giant battle axe against the gate of heaven, God sent a shaft of lightning that knocked the flaming axe out of his hand and into the North Sea, where it was transformed into the island of Lindisfarne. Lindisfarne, off the coast of Northumberland, is also known as Holy Island. It's a well-established stop on the Heritage Trail. Visitors come for the history, the castle, and sometimes just to put another notch in their guidebooks. But for others, Lindisfarne is what it's always been, a holy island, and they include the band Iona, whose music plays an important part of today's visit. For them, this place has been nothing short of inspirational. Although it may not look like it at the moment, Holy Island is genuinely an island. It's cut off from the mainland twice a day at high tide. At low tide, though, you can get across, either by car across the modern causeway, or if you're feeling a bit more ambitious, on foot across the ancient Pilgrim's Way. Well, just in case you get caught out by the tide while you're crossing the causeway, there are 2 refuge boxes for safety. Not only do they offer protection from the rising tide, but from up there you get a great view of your car being washed away, which is something that happens more often than you'd think. The island itself is, well, compact. It's only 2 miles long and a mile wide. Most of the year, only about 150 people live here, but during the holidays, the number doubles with the arrival of holiday homeowners. But today there are just a few more people on the island than usual, and that's because the band Iona are here in concert, performing among the ruins of Lindisfarne's 12th century priory. Now, you're going to be hearing some of their best known songs, both old and new, but they start with a recent number. This is Today.
Today the grass is greener than I have ever seen. Today the sky is bluer than it has ever been. And today my heart is beating like I've never felt it beat. And today flowers are growing from the ground beneath my feet. Today my hope is stronger and the vision's clearer, to walk in love eternal, the path that takes me nearer. And to you the music's playing like it has never done. And to you
You could hardly call this bit of the Northumberland coast a resort. There are no kiss-me-quick hats or promenade arcades. Instead, the place attracts a different kind of tourist, the one who comes to paddle in history, because frankly, history is what this island has in abundance. Apart from Lindisfarne Priory, Holy Island's other landmark is the castle. And while the island's past has had its violent moments, the building you see today is actually a reconstruction, which was built as a holiday home in 1902. But the island is rich in traditional folklore, and apparently some of the older fishermen think it's bad luck to see a woman on their way out to sea. And another thing, you can't say the word here. They have to be called grumphies or articles. Now, nobody knows why the superstition is held, but they do take it very seriously. Holy Island is also known for its mead, which, along with fishing, is a big industry here. Now, Lindsay, what exactly is mead?
Well, Caron, if you'd like to try one, I'll try and, explain to you.
Sounds like a great idea.
Mead is an alcoholic beverage which we produce here on the island from a basis of fermented white grape juice, or white grapes. We then completely change its character by the addition of pure honey and herbs, and then we fortify it with spirits.
And isn't it supposed to have great fertility properties?
The word honeymoon is derived from the ancient Norse custom of having newlyweds drink mead for a whole moon or month after they were married, which supposedly increased the chances of fertility in a happy marriage.
Cheers. It's all very well getting a tourist's eye view of the place, but what do the locals make of living somewhere like this?
I'm one of the oldest fishing families on the island, and with the decline of the lobsters and the carbs, we've had to invest in this bigger boat to go for whitefish and pond fishing.
Tourism is certainly one of the biggest industries on the island. There's hardly a family that isn't involved in some way.
In an effort to readdress the problem of holiday homes, the parish council is trying to acquire land to build affordable rented accommodation so that local young people can live on the island.
There isn't many jobs on Holy Island for young people, so me and my sister made up these little mugs and nuns, selling our little shop.
While those who live here seem to get on with life just like everyone else, there is something about this tiny island that has been drawing people to it for hundreds and hundreds of years. And while most people coming across today are more likely to have a bucket and spade with them than a Bible and prayer book, there are still those who come across for more traditional spiritual reasons. The Christian community who built the priory, the remains of which exist today, moved here around 700 years ago and remains until Henry VIII closed the place down in 1537. But they weren't the first. 400 or 500 years before that, there was a prior here who rejoiced in the name of Cuthbert. That's Saint Cuthbert to you and me.
Cuthbert was actually the second of our saints here and the sixth bishop of Lindisfarne. And Cuthbert lived here on the island for 10 years, organising the monastery but also being a great missionary. And during that time, he apparently had the gift of healing. Lots of people came over to be healed of different illnesses and troubles and worries. But also he began to think that God was calling him to be a hermit.
Now, Cuthbert wasn't the only saint associated with the island, was he?
Oh, no, he was not even the first. The first saint here, and in my view the most important, was a man called Aidan, who was an Irish monk from the great Irish monastery on Iona. And he came here with 12 Irish monks, built an Irish monastery here, and from here went out as a missionary, but a missionary of a rather particular kind, because he insisted on meeting and talking to the ordinary people. And so he brought into English Christianity a very, very powerful and important Irish strain.
Way, way back, before the Romans tramped their way across Britain, building roads and walls and things, a group of people called the Celts lived in this part of the world. They have a reputation as being something of a wild bunch, a bit rough and ready. Yet it was through the Celtic people, back in the 7th century, that Christianity took a hold in this part of the world. And something about their ancient spiritual tradition seems to be attracting more and more people in the 1990s.
I think what distinguishes them from so many other Christians is that they enjoyed the world that they lived in. They sought out places, beautiful places usually, and wherever they went, they sought a place that they called a place of their resurrection, where they found a new way of life. And I think that's a lovely expression.
And is that what brought you to Holy Island?
What brought me here is, first of all, the beauty of the island. And then, because I'm nearly a local lad, I was born only 30 miles down the road. I knew about Aidan and Cuthbert and the Saints from being in infant school, probably before that. And from being quite small, my father brought me here. And I think it's a fantastic place.
Now, you started off your working life in far less beautiful surroundings. You were a miner, so how did you make the switch?
When I was coal mining, I hardly ever went to church. Well, I didn't find the church attractive. And then one day I can remember saying to my father, I think I'm going to be a vicar. I can't repeat on television what he said to me. But from then it just began to happen, and this thing bugged me. I suppose that's what some people would call a vocation.
Now, you actually write a lot of your prayers in the Celtic style. Why is that?
I would say it's because there's a rhythm. You know, like the tides. There's a sort of rhythm up to all of life. And if you get out of sync with that rhythm, you're in trouble. And I think prayer should express that rhythm.
Now, some people might say that it's easy for you to live out a Celtic spirituality in a place like this. But what about those who are living in less idyllic surroundings?
Actually, it's no easier here. But after saying that, I'm privileged living out in the open, and I love living that way. In the cities, it's far harder to get in touch with any reality. And for that reason, I think it's far harder to pray, it's far harder to be aware of God, it's actually far harder to be aware of yourself. And I think this is the sad things of our cities of today. If I wanted to hide, I'd go and hide in a city. Here I have to confront myself, as well as the folk that live near me that I can't run away from on a small island, especially when the tide's in.
To guide me
They that go down to the sea in ships, plying their trade on the ocean wide, they have seen what the Lord has done, his marvellous actions in the deep. At his command the storm wind rose and the waves lifted high. The seamen were carried up to the skies, then plunged down to the depths. They were tossed to and fro in peril. So they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. The storm sank to a murmur, and the waves of the sea were stilled. They rejoiced because it was calm, and he guided them to the harbour they were making for. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his enduring love, and for the marvellous things he has done for mankind.
Walking over the sand.
Tom Davis used to be a Fleet Street journalist and is now an author. You are writing a book about pilgrimages at the moment, which I guess must make you a professional pilgrim in a way.
Yeah, I've been at it for about 3 or 4 years now. I mean, I don't know how people get into anything really, but and I certainly wouldn't have thought 10 years ago that I would have become a sort of professional pilgrim. That's exactly what I do.
What makes people go on pilgrimages?
Well, it's a variety of reasons. You go for penitence, you go for a cure, you go because someone has fallen sick and you promise God that if he cures them, you'll do a certain pilgrimage. And there are some really dire pilgrimages, you know, that you nearly die on. A couple have died on some pilgrimages, you know, which seems a sort of rather odd joke. You know, you go in perfectly good health, you know, and come back with an incurable disease, you know. I mean, that certainly happened with some of them. But the other thing that's often forgotten about pilgrimages is that they are fun, that you get the fellowship of the road, you meet some wonderfully weird people. I mean, there are no one like some of the people I've come across on my travels. You know, it's not a very pious thing. I think this is what people sometimes get the idea of pilgrimages as being full of piety, but it's not. It's fun. And I go along, you know, and I travel along, and I also use it to try and enter into a creative relationship with God. So if I'm wandering across the sands, as I might be this morning, I'm constantly questioning God and trying to work out my relationship with him, and I'm telling him what's upsetting me or stuff like that. I mean, one presumes he's listening. I mean, he never talks back to me, but I'm always talking all the time, you know, trying to sort of get this sort of relationship going with him. And I think this is also an important part of pilgrimage.
But do you have to go to places like Lindisfarne to find these kind of experiences? Can't you just have them at home?
Yes, you can have them in your backyard. It's easy. You can sit there. But of course, the pilgrimage is the exercise in itself. It's the journey, and it also focuses your mind on holy matters. And it's important also to get away from the hurly-burly of life, and you know, the milkman and sort of dogs barking at you and stuff like this. And where better to come than a place like Lindisfarne?
Last year, I think it was about February time, we were in the middle of a tour and we were going from Edinburgh back down south, and we had this one day off. We thought, right, let's go to Lindisfarne, you know, for a day's refreshment, and the sun was setting and we were like sitting in these little prayer holes in the rock, and it was just like suddenly I thought all these images of things, and somebody got a pen, you know, somebody got paper, and I managed to dig out an old piece of paper from somebody's pocket, and I just started scribbling down basically things that I was seeing, just the way the water was moving, the kelp, and there were like little flocks of birds just flying over the water, and the sun going down, and it was just like this, because it was cold, there was a sort of a mist was beginning to rise off the sea and just hide the rest of the landscape, and it was actually quite a while later whenever Dave began to come up with some musical ideas that seemed to fit the mood at that time.
And what did that song become?
It became a song called Lindisfarne.
Do you think there is something very special about here, or in a way is it what people bring to the island as well?
It's not that I think, you know, any one place is more holy than another place, but I think there are images here and thoughts that you know, it can help people to reflect and meditate.
I was walking around the last couple of nights I spent here, and the sunsets have been incredible. And when you just see that fantastic things coming through creation, well, for me, it really helps me to sort of focus on God and experience Him through what He's created.
Slow rising mist and falling the land, sea water shifts on a bed of sand, a forest of kelp dances beneath its motion, the water moves with the tides of the ocean. And here we are, we have come this far to say a prayer on Lindisfarne. Rock, bathed in a gentle glow, the golden half-light of the setting sun, a shadow of wings flying fast and low, out of my sight into the distance gone, and here
Another person who's been drawn to this place is Andy Rain. He visited many times before finally returning here to live 3 years ago. What about the locals? I mean, what do they think of all the pilgrims coming here or visitors coming here? I mean, do they find that a bit odd? Or can they see why people would want to come and visit?
Well, the island depends for a lot of its livelihood on the visitors all the time. And there's some people come as sort of like official pilgrims, but there's an awful lot more people come, I suppose, seeking for something or other.
And really, wherever you go in the island, you can't escape the kind of the sense of religion about it.
I think something's more likely to happen for you. You can find a place where you can stop and you can be quiet and let something happen. I'm going to take you to one of those places just now.
Okay. Andy, this must be well off the tourist path.
Well, you'd find there'd actually be less people would make their way over even as close to the village as this. It seems as if the bulk of the folk come in and they don't really want to walk more than about 5 or 10 minutes from the car. You know, they'll stroll in the direction of the castle or the ice cream shops or something. But
I know the feeling.
But you can just, even when the place is full of people, you can come down along towards Sandon Bay on something, and you'll not pass many folk at all.
So you can find a nice quiet corner. What was it that drew you to the island initially?
I was living in London at the time. I was a student, and I was having one of those running arguments with God, if you understand what I'm talking about. And I was just exploding, saying, "So where are you sending me?" And to my surprise, I got an answer. I mean, it wasn't like an audible voice or anything, but I had an answer, and it wasn't something I'd been thinking of at all. Just clearly the words Holy Island. And I'd been here, I think, once as a child, and that was all. So I assumed God hadn't answered my question, but he was saying, "Go to Holy Island and then I'll answer your question." I thought he was playing for time, you know. But by the time I came here for one weekend, I was very clear that I'd had the answer, and that was for my life, you know, that Holy Island was somewhere where I was supposed to be.
And did it just kind of all fall into place the minute you stepped onto the island, or what happened?
I think just even in that first weekend, I experienced a sense of the island being not only a very beautiful place, because that wouldn't have been enough, but a place which is very significant, where for all kinds of people, when they come here, things happen for them, and it can predispose them perhaps even to experience God in a deeper way, or to a lot of people come here at a time which is like a crossroads for them, or at a time which perhaps when they're asking questions, or it can be a time of all kinds of change. Some people are hit by it unexpectedly, and some people are, as it were, predisposed, and that's the time they'll come to the island.
And do you think that people can experience things here that they would never feel anywhere else?
I think perhaps things are more likely to happen here than a lot of other places. There's an expression that's used about Iona, the island, and I think it's true of here as well, that it's a thin place, where it's like the veil between perhaps us and God, between earth and heaven, between perhaps even all those people that have lived and prayed here before and ourselves. It's like very thin, like you could almost pierce through it very, very, very easily.
Here I stand, looking out to sea, where 1,000 souls have prayed, and 1,000 lives were laid on the sand, were laid on the sand. Years have passed since they have died, but the word shall last, and the wild goose shall fly. Shall Here I stand, looking out
Even though the day be laden, and my task dreary, and my strength small, a song keeps singing in my heart, for I know that I am thine. I am part of thee, thou art kin to me, and my times are in thy hand.
Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend up into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast.
Beyond these shores, into the darkness. Beyond these shores, this boat may sail, and if this is the way, then there will be a path across this sea. And if I sail beyond the farthest ocean, or lose myself in depths below, wherever I may go, your love surrounds me, for you have been before. Beyond these shores, beyond these shores, wherever I may go, wherever I may go, your love surrounds me, your love surrounds
It would be very easy with some of the stories that we've heard to believe that the moment you step off the causeway you'd feel this kind of strange sense of mystery. But I have to say that's probably not the case for most people. And then again, deep experiences usually aren't instant ones. The people who seem to get most out of this island are the ones who are just prepared to spend time here, sitting down by the sand dunes with the sea in the sky, and really letting the place do its work. And undoubtedly there is something very, very special about it. People have talked about it being a thin place between heaven and earth, and I think they're probably right.
Consider the flowers of the field in their beauty, more lovely than even the clothes of a king. Consider the birds of the air flying high, flying free. You are precious to me, and where your treasure is, there is your heart. And where your treasure
Well, that's it from Holy Island, and I'm heading back across the causeway now, so I just hope I've got the times of those tides right. Next week we're on the move again, this time to a little-known wonder of the world, Bainbridge in Shropshire, where we'll have some music with a definite folk feel to it. So until then, goodbye.
If you'd like more details about the music, prayers and readings in this week's Roots and Rhythms, there's a free fact sheet available from Roots and Rhythms, PO Box 27, Oxford Road, Manchester, M61SJ. And please enclose an A4 size stamped addressed envelope.